Welcome to the home of the DIY movement, where we build stuff and paint things.
All right, folks, good morning. Today is Saturday, October 4th, 2025. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. Today, hopefully we wrap up this Cadillac. This is going to be part 2 of the install. What I've been doing during the week. If you guys follow on Instagram, I got the racks painted. And really, it's a shame because you don't see any of it. You see, all you see is the pump mount and a little bit of the battery rack. I did get the caps in. Those are 1 inch by 4 inch plastic caps. They just pop in to kind of close it off. Nice little touch. They're real cheap, a couple dollars. Last night I started wiring it. You guys saw the cable video, so I got all the cables made. They should all be made. All that's left is to make the grounds that go inside the car. And then I did get it wired. So really, from this side, all you have is 3 wires: 2 from the dumps, 1 from the pump solenoid. They go under the carpet to right there, and then 3 over there, and then 1 battery wire. It's going to be 24 volts, so 7 wires total for a 2 pump 4 dump setup. I did run the ground dumps right there. Just bolted them in on both sides. I did get these disconnects for the dumps, kind of just plugs. Got those on Amazon too, man. Amazon, I don't know about you guys, but Amazon really is really good in this area. Get delivery like usually next day, sometimes same day on real common stuff. And man, I have no complaints about Amazon. Of course, they're not sponsoring anything, but I like them. So the roughed in wiring is done. Everything is right here in this area. I did get the switch panel wired up. Could do a video on that if you guys need to learn how to do that. And I got it to, where are we at? A terminal block. So the wires in the trunk are gonna come to this side. Got them color coded. Got it written down so I know what's what. I did get my tie rods and stuff in. Whole little kit for $60. It's not Moog. I'm sure it's cheap Chinese, but all I'm gonna be using right now is the tie rods and maybe the upper ball joints. We need to extend the uppers here. I'm gonna replace these uppers, probably drill them out since I got them and since they're off. I don't see why we can't get this thing done today. We'll see. It may not be all tucked away and pretty, but it should be able to lift on its own power today. That's the goal at least, or, you know, see how much we can get. I don't see why it can't be done this weekend for sure. Today's Saturday. Pretty much this is all the same from the last video. Guys, you want to remember to disconnect your battery when you're welding on the frame, especially on a newer car that has computer and all that. Anyways, let me get going. First thing I'm going to do is swap out the tie rods, because those definitely need to be changed. And then probably drill out the ball joints. It's 8 o'clock. Bobby should be here by then. Get him going with the welder. Cut the holes out. So we're rolling. We'll bring you guys back once we get some progress.
This was about the only footage that I recorded of the actual process. Here we are. We got Bobby. Bobby right now is welding the passenger side upper control arm to the driver's side cross shaft. And we realized that after the fact, and about 20 minutes after this recording. So that needed to be cut. You can see it has a little bit of a gap there that was more than we liked. So that ended up getting cut and re-welded. Running coil under on this car. Right now I'm about to show, basically it's some, I believe, 3-inch channel iron. And we would just weld the deep cups to the channel iron. Those are actually coil over cups. They came with the kit, so I used them. They serve the same purpose, so I just used those instead of buying, you know, regular deep cups. And those basically get welded where the factory rear spring perch is. That channel iron just sits right on the rear end, right over it, and you're just going to weld it right there.
run and it should fit. All right, y'all, today's October 7th, and this is gonna wrap up part 2 of the install on the Brome. So man, it's been quite a chain of events here. So today is Tuesday. Me and Bobby worked on this thing Saturday until about 9 o'clock at night, from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and we finished it up, but not without issue. So this is pretty much gonna be the finished result. I just took it for a ride right now to make sure there's no leaks, and I did have to do some changes on this car. So we'll start with the front. The front, I'm running sixes with 2-ton pre-cut springs. And the reason why, and I'll drop it down when we're done with the video. The reason why I chose sixes is because of all this AC stuff. I mean, you can't even see the cylinder up in there, but it's there. And that's why, because if you go with 8s, you have to kind of work in between all those lines and maybe move some, and I really didn't want to do that. So I went with 6s with deep cups, 2-ton pre-cut springs, and you can see it locks up exactly the same as if you had 8s. So there's zero difference in performance between 6s and 8s. So I like 6s in the front of almost all my cars. What's left on the inside is I just got to mount the switch plate somewhere. Gonna mess with that in a minute. Onto the trunk, the rear. The rear has 10s in the rear with coil under, okay? So I know, the new folks run Powerball so they can 3-wheel and get a higher lockup and telescopic cylinders and all that, and that's cool. That's one way to do it, but it wasn't always like that. I personally like coil under in the rear. I'm going to lay under there in a minute and show you guys what coil under is. A couple reasons. For one, it's really easy to change out the springs. You can chop them down really easy. You just got to jack the car up, lift the cylinder up, and get the spring out, and that's it. 2 is the cylinder doesn't really move. The cylinder stays in place. It's right there. It doesn't move, so it doesn't squeak. With coil under, it doesn't squeak. I just took it for a ride right now on the freeway. On the highway, hit 85 miles an hour. It's probably going more like 70. Man, zero squeak. Down bumpy ass county roads, zero squeak. Because the cylinder don't move. When you run coil over, you can run PVC pipe around the cylinder, or the guy sells some cylinder guides, so you don't get the sheet metal squeak. So I prefer coil under. It's more old school. Serves the same purpose. So that's 10s in the rear. Coil under. And pretty much that serves the purpose. That's about as high as I want to go. I just want to be able to clean the wheels and tires. I'm gonna lay it out here in a minute. Man, these pumps were something else. So if you guys remember the assembly video, everything went smooth. The little voiceover I did when I assembled the pumps. This right here is check valve. If you guys remember when I assembled the pump, I believe I spoke on it, that this check valve got tight in the dump after like a turn and a half, and now you see why.
Like I said, man, that check valve got tight, so I had to switch to a bigger crescent wrench, get a little more leverage. We were able to get it. It shouldn't be that tight, so I don't know, but it's on, and it probably ain't never gonna leak.
The threads are stripped. So when we finished it all up, got it all wired up, went to hit the switch, we had a leak right there. Right here is where we had a leak. You guys remember I was running the bushing because I said I didn't want to use this swivel. Well, I had to scratch that idea. We also had a leak right here and from the bushing. So basically yesterday I had to take both pumps completely out. What I did was I put a baking sheet under the tray, under the pump, cracked the hoses, you know, let it drip in the baking sheet, and then cap the hoses and cap the fittings here so there's no more dripping oil. Pull the pump out so we got no oil on the carpet. From what I can gather right now, there's no more leaks at all in the whole system, so that's good. So I had to basically bust down the whole pump to get to that check valve, and I was like, man, I really don't want to have to do this again. So I ran the swivels and no leaks. Luckily I had another 3/8 inline check valve. I happened to find one in the drawer. Same with the back. It had to come out, and you know, to retighten it, I got, you know, I re-Tefloned it, but when I took it out I realized it probably could have went one more turn, but I didn't. You know, this stuff is aluminum, so you can always go more turns on the aluminum, and then before you know it, whoop, and you round it off, and now you got bigger problems. So it's kind of a fine line between getting tight and stripping, and I was below that threshold and we had a small leak. It's fixed now. You guys notice the main difference? There's no front accumulators. So when I took this car for a test drive on Sunday, it had 4 accumulators and it rode great. Ride like a stock car, okay? In fact, like literally like the factory it was 2 weeks ago. That's good and bad. That's good because it rides great. It's bad because it doesn't have that little dip, that little bounce that reminds you that you're in a lowrider. So I kind of like that little dip. So I took them off the front, still left them in the rear, but I took them off the front, and I just drove it like I say right now, and I do enjoy it a little more. May add them on in the future, may put them back. I don't know. We're gonna see how it acts here. Put some miles on it and see how it acts. But I mean, I'm not gonna tear the car up, but I do like it to have a little bit of dip, you know. Otherwise it feels like you're in a stock car, and I mean, for some that's cool, but I do like to be reminded that you're driving a lowrider. So check valve leaked, Chinese, and the racks are painted right now. I'm about to work on the hold downs. I got them over here. Bobby whipped these up, so I'm gonna work on getting these painted today into tomorrow. So that's a wrap. I am gonna do a part 3 where I break down exactly what it costs to do this, which I went with like the cheapest, wouldn't say cheapest, but the most budget friendly equipment. Let me drop the car down so you guys can see how low it sits. So that's it, man. That's 2-ton pre-cut, like I say. Deep cups in the front, still drivable. Well, movable. I wouldn't say drivable, maybe up and down 288, but I may go down a little bit lower in the back. But right now, as it is, if something were to malfunction, I can get home, and that's kind of a big deal. Could go a little bit lower in the back, but not much. These are 14x7, so I'm keeping the 14s. I know some people out there might say, oh man, you gotta put 13s to the concrete. Man, damn all that. This thing rides great. Hit 85, steering wheel don't shake. You're not all over the road. I really love the 14s, man. Like, I may upgrade the wheels, but I like the 14x7s. So I think we're gonna call this car about done, man. We did it in about a year. Got the bumper kit on. I do got some tail lights coming, and we did put the plaque in, gold plaque. Hope you guys enjoyed this little update, man. I'm sorry I couldn't record, but like I said previously, man, we're working, and you know, when Bobby's here, it's go, and we ain't got time to waste, man. We only hit it hard on 1 day a week, so didn't really do a whole lot of recording. Just want to recap. I'm gonna do a part 3 where I break down specifically how much it costs to install the hydraulics on this car. All inclusive, man. So y'all stay tuned for that. And we're gonna get back on the deuce. We're gonna start wet sanding and polishing it. And I believe next is gonna start glass install, man. He did bring his intake. That sure looks pretty. Hope you guys enjoyed this little update, man. Y'all stay tuned for more work. Thanks for watching.